So, good afternoon, YouTube. I hope everyone's having a wonderful weekend. I know it's a bit boring still in it, but I hope everyone's having a good one. And I'll be back on it tomorrow properly. We'll be going with the uploads at 7 and 10:30 as per usual, and we'll be back on the career mode. Go to the community tab on this channel and go and vote on the poll. I've put a poll up. So go and vote on that. I'd love to get your input on that for the next career mode. Obviously, we won absolutely everything apart from the Premier League with Arsenal. But first year in the Champions League, we bagged it. We won the Europa League. We won the Super Cup. We won the League Cup. We won the FA Cup. League Gunner FC was making Arsenal great again. Now we've done that. We've thrown our medals into the crowd. And yeah, we're going to go with a different team. So go and stick your vote in on that, and whatever the vote is by the time I load FIFA tomorrow is what we're going with. So, but listen, we're going to speak about Rodrigo Moreno. He is the 29-year-old centre forward who plays for Valencia. We've had first-hand experience playing against this guy when we played in the Europa League semi-finals. Didn't really live up to the hype. This guy tends to get so much hype because his card's good on FIFA. The reality is he isn't that great as a footballer, and his record in Spain suggests that as well. For Valencia, total games he's played 214, and he's scored 57 goals. He does have 41 assists, which is kind of high, but his record for Benfica was 119 games, 45 goals. So his goals output has slowed down in La Liga. It was obviously a lot better in Liga NOS. But here's where I raised an eyebrow. How many of you knew he played 21 games for Bolton Wanderers in the Premier League? How many of you knew that? I bet you didn't, did you? But there we go. But listen, he's 29 years old. He's the Spanish international. He's got 8 goals in 22 caps, actually. That's not too bad, to be fair. But he does have a buyout clause in his contract, which does expire in 2022, the 30th of June 2022. Now, his buyout clause is 110 million. Now, those of you who don't know, in Spain, you do legally have to have a buyout clause in your contract. That is a standard requirement for every single player who plays in Spain. Now, listen, he ain't going to go for 110 million quid, that's for sure. He ain't worth half of that. Valencia are said to be happy to take half of that, and I'm sure they would take half of that. They'd take around the £50 million, apparently. Now, I'm sure that they would take half of that because, listen, they'd be having somebody's pants down if they did take half of that, because he ain't worth 50 million quid. Like I said, he's 29 years old. His goals ratio is about 1 in 4. His assists is about 1 in 6. Is he that great? It's a league that, listen, he's playing for one of the better teams in the league, but his figures don't add up to me. And Valencia have got a half-decent team, but I just look at him and I think, like, what do you actually bring to the table that makes me think that you'd be worth 50 million quid? And I'm struggling. I can't lie. Yeah, I am struggling. He's quite quick. He's technically all right. You'd expect that from a Brazilian, because he is technically Brazilian, although he does represent Spain. But other than that, I'm kind of concerned. And apparently, we've entered into the inquiry stage. We've gone past that now, and this is something that could possibly get done. Now, I'd love to know your thoughts on this guy, because, like I said, I look at him and I think, like, you're a nearly good player. You're a nearly good player. You're one of them players that I think, like, you're not bad. Are you an upgrade on what we've got? Nah, not for me. Are you better than Lacazette? Nope. Are you better than Aubameyang? Hell no. Are you better than Martinelli? And again, I'm struggling to see he's better than Martinelli. Listen, I know Martinelli's, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon. I know Martinelli's only had a season at Arsenal, but when you look at the output from Martinelli and then the output from this guy in a league that is a little bit easier, you know, the bottom teams don't tend to beat the top teams. They do a lot in the Premier League. You know, you're in a game up against any team in the Premier League, especially with Arsenal anyway. Over in Spain, it's very rare that the bottom team will beat the top team. And if it does, it's a one-off and it won't happen again for another 120 years or something stupid. But when I look at Martinelli's output this season, albeit it's been Europa League, League Cup, etc., etc., his goals to games ratio is ridiculous. This guy's is not. You know, this guy this season has barely scored any goals. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, this season he's only scored 5 goals. You know, like, come on, 5 goals. You know, and people are trying to tell me that this guy's a great player because his FIFA card's really good. Like, no chance. I'm not having it. I genuinely am not having it. And like, the fact that he's 29 years old as well means that, you know, he'd come in. Yes, it'd be a big move for him. It'd be the biggest move that he's had. No disservice or discredit to Valencia or Benfica, because Benfica are a huge football club. Yeah, but, you know, this would be the biggest move he's ever had in his career. Obviously, it'd be the hardest league, the toughest league, the most watched league. But for £50 million, no. We could go and get better strikers for less money than we could spend on this guy. And for me, that's why I'm not having it. Like, listen, he's not a bad player, like I said, but nah, not for me. And I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I'd love to know what you guys think. Let's move on to Layvin Kurzawa. There was a little report that came out that suggested that PSG are gonna sit down with him and try and thrash out a new deal for him. I've seen a couple of reports today that suggest that that's not going to happen and that he is going to continue with the move to Arsenal, and that is pretty much done and dusted. The agent's fee's been agreed, the player wages have been agreed, the length of contract is 5 years. So by all accounts, that is pretty much done and dusted. Whether that's the case or not remains to be seen. Listen, some of these stories that come out, you have to take with a pinch of salt sometimes. But the fact that we were in for him in January, the fact that we're back in for him now, all the reports came out the other day suggesting it was nearly done. It was Sky Italia reporting that. They're normally pretty decent. So yeah, I think that this one will be done. Again, it's another one that flatters to deceive. It's another one that don't get me off the edge of my seat thinking, wow, what a signing. And it's just a bit of a nothing player when we've already got one nothing player in Kolasinac in that position. So for me, I'm not too happy about that, but we wait and see what happens and see if he can come in and do a job. If not, then we've just wasted a few quid on wages, and hopefully we can bin him off the following summer and make a few quid in him, because that's what we need to do now. We can't be going out there doing the big money on players anymore, because we've done that. It hasn't worked. We've gone and signed players up to stupid contracts, which is why a lot of them don't want to leave now. And for me, so time and time again, this summer has to be about moving players out of the football club as opposed to going out and spending big. You know, get the Mustafis, the Kolasinacs, the Bellerins out of the football club, the Xhakas, even Torreira, even Laka. Get these players out of the football club. You know, get the money in for them. Then you go shopping. Yes, you have your ideal candidate, your ideal replacement lined up. But the first port of call is to get these players out of the club, because they're the ones holding us back. You know, Bellerin, gone, get rid. Mustafi, although he played well towards the end of the season as well, so did Xhaka. They're not good enough. They only went back to the level they were when we brought them, which wasn't good enough. So for me, that's the biggest thing we've got to be doing this summer, and that's getting players out before we get players in. But leave it all in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on Rodrigo Moreno. Did you know he played for Bolton? Did you know that? Come on, don't lie. Leave it in the comment section. Leave it in the comment section about Layvin Kurzawa if you haven't already from the other day. And don't forget, go and check the poll out that I've put up. I want to know your thoughts for the next career mode. There's 3 choices on there. So go and vote on that. And by the time I start tomorrow, the voting will end on that. So yeah, go and check that out. It's a little bit of fun. See if we can make another team great again. But listen, all have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday, whatever it is. I will be back at 5 o'clock with a video that I'm dropping, and again at 9 o'clock, and then as usual 7 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. back to normal tomorrow. So have a wonderful weekend. I'm out of here. Laters, peeps.